A 7-year-old startup just crushed Boeing, Lockheed, and Northrop Grumman. Anduril won the biggest drone contract in decades. Anduril didn't just sell a jet, it sold software. That's why the primes lost. The Pentagon didn't pick the best fighter. It picked the cheapest one that works. They didn't win with stealth, they won with price. $30 million beat a century of history.
When the United States Air Force announced its selection for the Collaborative Combat Aircraft Increment 1 program, the result stunned even seasoned defense industry observers. Anduril Industries and General Atomics Aeronautical Systems were chosen to move forward into production, while Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and Northrop Grumman, companies with a combined market capitalization in the hundreds of billions of dollars and nearly 3 centuries of institutional history between them, all failed to secure a place in the program first round. For General Atomics, the outcome was less surprising, since the company had spent decades building Predator, Reaper, and Gray Eagle drones for the same Air Force customer. For Anduril, a company that did not exist before 2017, the victory represented something far more disruptive to the established order, one where cost and schedule discipline mattered more than institutional pedigree. General Atomics entered the competition with an advantage none of its rivals could fully match. Its YFQ-44A, later nicknamed Dark Merlin, was heavily based on the XQ-67A, an experimental aircraft GAASI had already flown in February 2024. This meant the company was adapting an existing flying platform rather than designing from a blank sheet, allowing it to move from contract award in April 2024 to first flight on August 27, 2025, a span of 16 months the company promoted as one of the fastest fighter-class rollouts in modern history. General Atomics also brought decades of unmanned aircraft experience from supplying Predator and Reaper to the military since the 1990s, making it the safer, more conventional choice among the original 5 competitors. Anduril victory is harder to explain through institutional experience, because the company had almost none when the competition began. Founded in April 2017 by Palmer Luckey, creator of the Oculus Rift, alongside co-founders Trey Stevens, Matt Grimm, Joe Chen, and Brian Schimpf, the company brought backgrounds spanning Palantir, defense policy, and hardware engineering rather than fighter aircraft design. Its early products were border surveillance towers, a world apart from a jet built to fly alongside the F-35. The Fury airframe itself was not designed from scratch by Anduril either, but originated at Blue Force Technologies as an aggressor training platform before Anduril acquired the company in 2023, specifically for that airframe expertise. What Anduril did build internally was the business model and software wrapped around that acquired design, which is where most analysts locate the company real edge. Legacy primes typically operate under cost-plus contracts, where the government reimburses development costs and adds a guaranteed margin, a structure that discourages companies from risking their own capital on unproven designs. Anduril inverted this, self-funding much of its development with venture capital rather than waiting for government money, giving it pricing flexibility cost-plus contractors structurally struggle to match. Air Force officials have indicated the program overall has tracked below its original $30 million unit target, though the specific gap between Anduril pricing and its rivals remains an industry estimate rather than a confirmed figure. Anduril's deeper advantage is that it is fundamentally a software company that happens to build aircraft built around Lattice, an operating system born from border surveillance contracts that lets one human operator manage many autonomous systems at once, generating the kind of recurring, higher-margin revenue legacy primes have struggled to replicate. Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and Northrop Grumman were not eliminated for lacking technical competence, but for missing the cost and schedule targets the Air Force had set. Lockheed Martin own executives later admitted their initial design had been gold-plated, exceeding what the service actually needed for an early, lower-cost production run. This was a rejection of pricing strategy more than engineering ability, since a cost-plus mindset gives little incentive to find the cheapest path to a working aircraft. Northrop Grumman absorbed that lesson fastest, quietly self-funding a new aircraft called Project Talon that later earned the official designation YFQ-44A in December 2025, adopting the same self-funded playbook that had given Anduril its edge in the first place. Winning the airframe contract did not settle who controls the aircraft intelligence, since the Air Force ran a separate, initially secret competition for the autonomy software that governs how the drones act. As of June 2026, 6 companies hold contracts in this pool: Anduril, General Atomics, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, RTX Collins Aerospace, and Shield AI, with 3, Anduril, Shield AI, and Collins, advancing to a head-to-head evaluation expected to name a primary provider sometime in 2027. Notably, the software currently flying aboard Anduril-owned YFQ-44A for this competition is Shield AI Hivemind, not Anduril-owned Lattice, under an open framework called the Autonomy Government Reference Architecture that lets software move between airframes regardless of who built them. For Lockheed and Northrop, this software pool offers a genuine second path into the CCA ecosystem, even without winning a single airframe contract. Increment 1 was won on speed and price, but Increment 2 is shaping up as a different contest entirely, one the primes may be better positioned to fight. The Air Force has signaled a pool of more than 20 eligible vendors for this next phase, with roughly 9 reportedly receiving early concept refinement work, though the program exact direction remains genuinely unsettled. Earlier guidance favored an aircraft more capable than Increment 1, even at a modest cost increase of 20 to 30%. While current Air Force Secretary Troy Mike has instead pushed for something far cheaper, suggesting a target near half of Increment 1's $30 million price point. Industry voices have said that number would produce something closer to a reusable cruise missile than a stealthy robotic wingman. Trading range, payload, and survivability for the sheer numbers needed to overwhelm peer adversary defenses. Officials have said it will take roughly another year to settle the concept of operations, leaving room for either direction to win out, and that uncertainty plays directly into the prime's hands, since they have spent the time since their 2024 defeat copying the very playbook that beat them. Northrop Grumman has moved most aggressively to rewrite its own engineering culture. Its Project Talon, now officially designated the YFQ-48A, was redesigned with roughly half the part count and 1,000 pounds less weight, a structural shift the company has attributed to customer feedback rather than a direct point-by-point response to its earlier Increment 1 bid. The lighter airframe aligns naturally with the Air Force's separate push for smaller, lower-thrust engines suited to cheaper, attritable platforms. Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works division has unveiled Vectis, a stealth-optimized aircraft explicitly pitched as available at a CCA price point. With first flight targeted within roughly 2 years, though the company has not publicly confirmed a specific aircraft classification for the design, the pitch leans on Lockheed's stealth heritage, while shedding the gold plating that company executives themselves admitted had priced them out of Increment 1. Boeing, meanwhile, brings the MQ-28 Ghostbat, which by mid-2026 had logged well over 100 test flights and a live AIM-120 missile engagement, though the aircraft remains in flight testing rather than operational service, with the Royal Australian Air Force not expecting an initial operational capability until 2028. That flight history still gives Boeing real maintenance and reliability data that a clean sheet design would lack. None of this guarantees a prime wins Increment 2, since Anduril and General Atomics are expected to compete again. Anduril position going into that fight is more complicated than simple dominance, however. When the Air Force named Anduril, Shield AI, and Collins Aerospace in June 2026 as the 3 finalists advancing in the separate autonomy software competition, it was Shield AI Hivemind, not Anduril-owned Lattice system, that had been flying aboard Anduril aircraft during the program's formal Increment 1 evaluations. Anduril Lattice was tested only in a supplementary mid-flight demonstration that the Air Force itself said it was not formally considering for this round, a detail that complicates any claim that Anduril software gives it an automatic durable advantage over the primes heading into Increment 2. What Anduril does retain is a venture-funded balance sheet, reflected in a valuation that reached $61 billion by mid-2026, giving it the capital to iterate on a new design without waiting on government milestone payments, though whether that capital translates into a winning Increment 2 bid remains unproven. What has genuinely changed since 2024 is that the primes are no longer trying to out-bureaucracy a startup. They are trying to out-cheap one on terrain the Air Force itself may be reshaping in their favor. The shift toward affordable mass over exquisite capability plays to traditional strengths the primes have always had in supply chain depth and high-rate manufacturing, even if no public data yet confirms they can hit a $15 million unit cost at scale. If Increment 2 ultimately rewards numbers over sophistication, the contest could shift from a startup speed advantage toward an industrial capacity test the legacy primes have spent decades preparing for, whether or not they have fully proven it yet.